Alexander Solzhenitsyn once wrote that there is nothing like the wrath of the man who never wanted to be violent. Once you take away the person that just wanted to live a normal life, I just wanted to be left alone, I just wanted to be a regular guy, and once they push the normal person too far, to the point where we are no longer able to be that guy, they've killed that person, they've killed that part of us, to now we're at the point where we have to be living by the rules of the jungle to protect our family, to protect ourselves. The wrath these people are going to feel is going to be medieval.
With him, my friend. Welcome back, everybody. Well, I think we all knew the food wasn't good for us for a long time, and the sugar. This just really hits home, though.
Did you know that sugar, when you eat it, a donut, Pop-Tart, piece of bread, doesn't matter, Kool-Aid, Dr. Pepper, did you know that when you swallow sugar, they have known for 70 years that it goes inside your bone marrow and it suppresses within 45 minutes your body's ability to produce white blood cells that fight infections like bacteria, yeast, viruses, funguses, and parasites? Did you know that it literally shuts off your immune system and makes you more susceptible to all viruses, all infections? And did you know that they compared sugar to prednisone? Prednisone is a steroid. And do you know that its job is to suppress your immune system? In fact, it's called an immune system suppressant. Did you know that sugar suppresses your immune system more than prednisone does? So if you're trying to fight an infection, if you're worried about the bird flu in the future, and I find out you're eating donuts and Pop-Tarts and cereal in the morning, you don't care about your health.
Wow, holy crap. It makes you wonder, right? It makes you think. Get outside, people. Do something. Be active, right? Get off the phone for a little bit. Stop watching the TV. Do some stretches. Do something a little bit every day. Especially the sun. Get out in the sun. That's really the best thing to do. Well, here's a prime example of politicians lying to your face without even blinking. And we'll prove it here in the first minute and 30 seconds. Check this out. This is in Canada, where the government just gave away some land to the native people. And they've already kicked out an RV settlement. People have been there 40 years, and they've already said, all right, you got to go. So yeah, it's a big thing, because how do you get insurance and get things like that if you can't provide ownership? You know, you don't own it and this and that. How are you going to get collateral, insurance, things like that? You can't prove you own anything. Think about it.
Outside Premier, on the Musqueam announcement that you hadn't been briefed on it yet, I find that a bit startling. Did the feds not brief you, or do you mean you just haven't gotten caught up on it? Can you explain that a bit?
Yeah, sure, Les. To the best of my understanding, the provincial government was not briefed at the political level on this. I can't say whether or not at this stage whether any public service members had line of sight to it. I certainly didn't. But with that said, I'm not surprised that the feds were involved in these conversations.
Now that is the Premier of British Columbia. He just stood there, looked everyone in the eye, and in a brazen way lied to you all. He lied on TV. And he did it without hesitation, and he didn't flinch. He said the provincial government didn't have a line of sight. He certainly didn't, and he wasn't consulted on it. He was at the signing ceremony. He knew about it. His office panicked. They later came out and said, well, we need to clarify that he attended the signing ceremony on February 20th. The same day the federal government had announced the agreement in the news release. And
wow. So it goes on for another 2 minutes or whatever. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. That's as far as I got. That's all I need to know, pretty much. We've been sold out by our leaders, right? We're paying taxes and doing the right thing every day just for them to sell us out, right? Unfreaking real. If you want to get out of the system, get into crypto, stable coins. It's $1 on the blockchain. You can make more interest, more yield with your money on the blockchain. Banks are fighting you right now, something called the Clarity Act. They don't want you to earn interest on your money, because you'll start taking your money out of the banks and putting it into crypto exchanges, into your own crypto wallets, holding it there, not in the bank. The bank makes money off of your money. So if you move your money out of that system into your own decentralized personal wallet that nobody can take it from, you're making money on the side like you've never seen before in your life. Do your research, links down below. check it out if you really want to screw over the banks. And I say, screw them, because they're panicking right now.
We're going to start off with this shocking new report. Canada's economy is so poor, it represents a human rights crisis, says the Canadian Human Rights Commission. Agency says inflation, housing shortages, and a rising poverty rate puts...
We just talked about this. The banking system, they do not care about you, man. They'll suck you dry. Screw them. Take the money out of banks, right? Because your dollar is worth like 95% less than when it was like 100 years ago. How did it get less in value? Inflation. They keep creating money out of thin air. Your governments are borrowing money out of thin air, backed by nothing, making the people on top even richer, because they just give you paper and you give them that paper back with more paper, because that's the interest you have to pay back. And they just sit there laughing at us, these central banks, making all this interest on this money that they don't give us their gold. They don't give us their property, nothing like that. They don't give us their money. They just print money. They just print it out of thin air. And then that gets carried on over to the taxpayer. We pay the interest on that. We get the taxes raised just to pay back the interest on the loans. Think about it.
The fundamental human rights to an adequate standard of living at risk. Canada is getting so bad that our very own Canadian Human Rights Commission is saying that we're in a human rights crisis in Canada. A new survey that came out today finds nearly half of all Canadians are living paycheck to paycheck. While at the same time, new models show that if there was an election today, the Liberals would win a super majority with 218 seats. It's 172 to get a majority. A 218 seats would annihilate all other parties. What's quite interesting is Mark Carney's scorecard after a year of being prime minister has just been released. Mark Carney's 26 trips abroad, a breakdown of Prime Minister Carney's trade deals and travel after 1 year of office. Here's Mark Carney's scorecard. Binding deals is in green. I don't know why they made it so thick, because we have Indonesia, Chinese tariff rollback, and India's uranium contracts. As for Indonesia, we trade $5 billion back and forth with Indonesia. For context, we trade $1 trillion with the United States back and forth. So $5 billion is like picking up a penny on the street and going, you know what? I don't need this penny. I'm going to throw it into a fountain and make a wish. The yellow portion is all of those beautiful MOUs that we use.
Crypto again, right? Money is just printed out of thin air. It used to be backed by gold, right? But they stopped that in the 70s. That gave the central banks so much control to make more money and more power. But yeah, Bitcoin, crypto. There's only a certain amount of Bitcoin. There's only a certain amount of other cryptocurrencies, right? And that makes it more valuable. And they can't just create it out of thin air. You know what I mean? There's only a certain limit. That's all there is. Bitcoin, 21 million coins or something like that. That's it. Ever. So they can't really, what they do in the markets, they print everything on paper. It's all on paper. It's on paper. It's on paper. Nobody owns shit, right? And they just overdo it so much. If every one of them came in for their shit, the whole system would collapse.
To wipe our behind with, because they're as useless as toilet paper. We signed with Belgium, Poland, Germany, Mexico, Malaysia, South Korea, UAE, Qatar, Australia, and Japan. All MOUs. I promise that we're going to do a deal with you. But first, we're going to write it on a napkin and hopefully it doesn't get wet. As you can see, he only went once to all of these countries, but nothing signed yet. Absolutely nothing signed. He's gone to France twice, UK twice. How many times did he go down to visit Donald Trump? South Africa, Singapore, and Switzerland. He has absolutely Nothing to show for it. Just so people are aware, the United States represents 75% of all our trade. That's the one place he needs to go down. Forget the other people, because if we don't have the United States, we will not exist as a country anymore. And he visited Not About Trade, the Vatican. Of course, we know about that $150,000 for his flight and all that caviar and steaks to go visit the Pope.
Yo, and just so you know, when he was working for Brookfield, and many people believe he still is working for Brookfield, he was telling everybody, you're going on net zero. You're all going to net zero, meaning you're going to lose a lot of freedoms, a lot of choices in life. And they're serious about it. Meanwhile, Brookfield, the company he was working for, telling you that you have to be a good citizen, they were in the Amazon destroying the forest. So much so, you can see it from the satellite. Just destruction, taking out swaths of Amazon land, trees, for profit, for greed, for money, while they're telling you to be net zero. Hypocrites, and that's your freaking prime minister.
Netherlands, Latvia, and Egypt, and US FIFA. Those were untrade-related trips. I don't know about you, but this looks like a massive failure.
Canada is cooked. Little clip here on violence and what party is more prone to violence.
John, what's your question?
Chris, I just had a follow-up to last night. You seemed miffed by one of your guests saying that Biden arced up the temperature, and I agree with you that he personally didn't do it. But I was a police officer for 26 years, and I've never seen violence in any right-wing protest as bad as I've seen in the left. And all the way up to George Floyd, it's been horrible. Like when you hear that, let's say the Proud Boys are coming to town, we're like, oh, okay, we got to walk for a long time. You hear J Block or Antifa's coming, and you know you're in for it. And I've never seen violence and things done to police officers as nasty and as vile as from the left.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, because you lived it, not me, and I've certainly seen horrible things in protests that I've been standing in and covering. I'm not disputing that. But again, my problem wasn't with that. It was just leaving out the other half. How can you leave out MAGA and the demagoguery of what this president has been about in a conversation about how things have gotten to where they are? I mean, to me, it's like that's like cognitive dissonance.
These statements, there's no doubt about it, but it doesn't seem to enrage people the way it does on the left. So whatever Trump's doing, it really agitates the people on the left, but it doesn't agitate the people in the middle or the far right enough to do what the left is doing. And I think that's where the disconnect is in the way people are thinking. Maybe. You're looking at one side and saying, yeah, and some of the things he says I don't agree with, and they're cringy, but it doesn't cause people to come to the streets.
The left politicians, they're always telling their constituents to do violent things, do horrible acts. And they always deny it. Oh, we didn't say that. We didn't say that. And you see the replay. Oh, yeah, you did say that. So politicians are scumbags. Don't do their bidding. Not for the right, not for the left. Be for you. Be good, be kind, be good to your neighbor. Just love and respect everybody, right? Until you don't have to. Well, not have to, but until they cross the line, and you shouldn't anymore.